Ladies and gentlemen, horror has played out in the Himalayas this afternoon, and we are still not clear about the extent of the damage it has caused. Let's just put the pictures on your screens. On your screens are pictures of devastation striking the hill state of Uttarakhand. The Kheerganga river, triggered by a cloudburst, angrily, if you see, hurtling down the mountains and swallowing up everything that came in its way. Hotels, homes, restaurants, guest houses. The village of Dharali, which is also a bit of a tourist hub, has been completely washed away, ladies and gentlemen. The impact of the flash flood is on your screens. You'll see people running out of buildings and buildings collapsing like a pack of cards. The cloudburst happened at about 1:45 this afternoon, and it was followed by 2 other cloudbursts. Now, the exact extent of the damage and the loss of life is still not completely known. We are being told that 50 to 60 people are missing. About 4 are confirmed dead. The numbers will rise given what we are seeing on our screens. Dharali village, where the Kheerganga did its tandav, is about 4 kilometers away from an army camp, which meant that 120 men could be mobilized, and they managed to reach the spot in 10 minutes. And as we speak, these men are continuing the search and rescue operations on the ground. The weather, unfortunately, continues to be inclement. It continues to rain, and the prediction is that it will rain through the night today. What does this mean? This essentially means that reinforcements from the SDRF, from the ITBP, from the army, they have still not reached the spot. Helicopters simply cannot take off because of this bad weather. There are 4 waiting. They are on standby. They have simply not been able to take off. Now, complicating matters is the fact that Harsil's helipad is completely flooded as we speak. The Prime Minister and the Home Minister are both monitoring the situation. Rest assured, it's going to be a very long night for Uttarakhand. There are many questions tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest one being about the early warning systems that were placed in the Gangotri Valley. Did they fail? Were they working? Why were people of Dharali not warned about the doom that was descending down the mountains? Those are critical questions that need to be asked. But before I do that, let me go straight across to Brigadier Mandeep Dhillon. He is the man who is leading search and rescue operations on the ground in Harsil.
13:45 hours. A mudslide and an avalanche struck village Dharali, which is around 4 kilometers north of Harsil, along the Gangotri axis. Indian Army column, being the closest in Harsil camp, was the first to respond and reach the location within 10 minutes of the incident. Rescue operations are underway. Until now, around 20 people have been rescued, of which those who are injured are receiving treatment in the battalion MI room. Unfortunately, sometime after that, the mudslide and cloudburst also struck the Indian Army camp and portion of our rescue columns. Despite the same, the Indian Army is resolute in its endeavor to carry out rescue operations and assist the local populace.
That was Brigadier Dhillon. I'm sure we'll get an update as and when. Right now, the teams on the ground have a big challenge at hand. The big challenge also is to get heavy equipment that is used to remove debris to the Dharali village. If it is raining, if there is mud that is still flowing, the fact is that the road conditions are not such where you can move heavy machinery. Also, at multiple places, as we speak, there are landslides in the area. The weather, as I said, is not helping. The DIG of the SDRF overlooking ops is joining me live on the show. Sir, thank you very much. Mohsin Sherdi, the SDRF DIG, joining us. Sir, could you tell us what the situation on the ground is, both in terms of rescue and weather challenges?
You know, after this incident took place around 2 p.m. today, the local unit from Army, one team, then SDRF, ITBP, the local administration officials, the BRO, they are on ground zero, and they are conducting the operation. 3 teams of SDRF have also been, dispatched immediately on hearing about this incident. One each from Manera, from Barkot, and from Dehradun. and 2 teams are there on standby in readiness at the Dehradun airport for airlift.
So would you say right now for the NDRF that is yet to reach the ground, weather is proving to be the biggest challenge?
You see, this is a large area which has been affected. A lot of houses have been just washed away, as you could have seen, in the video footages. So this is really challenging, to find, the missing people from under the debris or the muck. It's a big challenge. And then the weather conditions, I think they also would be disrupting the operation. But definitely it will be going on non-stop 24/7. So these are the challenges that we will be facing. But I'm hopeful that, with all the agencies and good coordination on ground, we'll be able to do the job as quickly as possible.
The pictures on our screens, ladies and gentlemen, just for reference, are the Indian Army on the ground. There is a small, it's not a hospital, we can call it a field hospital at best, that has been set up so that the injured can be treated there. Sir, coming back to you, are you in any position to tell us how many people are missing, how many people are dead, or is it too soon to say?
The information you see is still awaited from SDMA and the local administration. The information we have is only from the the news footage that about 40 to 50 people houses have been washed away, and about 50 plus people are missing. So I think that the information is still awaited, and it will take some time to get some concrete facts.
Okay, sir, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll keep coming back to you for more updates. But ladies and gentlemen, there's news that is just about coming in. A red alert has been issued for rains and landslides in the Chamoli district as well now for the next 24 hours, which means things are not getting better. This is the monsoon season. It rains in the hills. We have seen it in Himachal. We are seeing it in Uttarakhand as well. My question is, were early warning systems working? Why are we seeing visuals where we have people coming out of buildings and running to safety just as the flood waters are approaching them? These are critical questions that need to be answered. Of course, one is hoping that the loss of life is limited. But ladies and gentlemen, if you look at the pictures on your screens, you know what has happened in Dharali is massive. It's a Himalayan tragedy that has played out. The true extent will be visible possibly only by tomorrow afternoon or evening. Anup Nautiyal joining us on the broadcast. Thank you very much. He joins us from the Social Development for Communities Foundation. Thank you. Professor Anjal Prakash is from the Indian School of Business. He's a water and climate expert. Thank you, Professor. And Vimlendu Jha is an environmentalist. He's joining us on the broadcast. Anup Nautiyal is someone who is joining us from Dehradun. What was the surprise? The fact is, I mean, if you just look at data from 1978, it will tell us that flash floods are common in the mountains of Uttarakhand, just like they are common in the mountains of Himachal Pradesh, which is why the government had moved to put in early warning systems in place. That flash floods will come when there is constant rain in the mountains, there will be cloudbursts. It damages property, it affects life. Therefore, early warning systems are put in place so that people can go to safety when they are warned about incoming flash floods. Where was this warning?
So, Shreya, offering my heartfelt condolences, my prayers to the victims, to the ones who are injured, to their families, and my sympathies to all who are engaged and involved in the rescue operations as we speak in rain-battered Uttarakhand. I don't know where is this question of early warning systems coming from. As someone who lives in Uttarakhand, I am not aware of any early warning systems. And you are talking about, or we are discussing early warning systems in a village called Dharali in one of the 13 districts of Uttarakhand, when even helicopter operations to Kedarnath, so, I am taking you to another place altogether. Even there, we don't have really any warning systems, even for heli operations. So I know that these two examples are unrelated, but just to set the context right, and you also mentioned that, red warnings have been given. So the only warnings that I'm aware of is the red, orange, yellow and green, that alerts which come at a district-wide level from the IMD. So there are no block or disaggregated level, very high-tech, fancy early warning systems that are coming. At least I am not aware of any one single incident where lives that have been lost were prevented, or some accident was averted or some disaster was averted due to these early warning systems. So, that's going to be my opening comment.
Okay. Anup, here's the reason why I asked you about the early warning system, and I just hope we can put those graphics up on our screens as well. In 2024, the Uttarakhand Jal Vidyut Nigam installed early warning systems in the Gangotri Valley in Uttarkashi to warn against these very flash floods that have happened. My question is, where are those early warning systems? There were 4 automatic weather centers that were established, including one in Harsil, Anup. Kahan hai ye sab? Where is all this infrastructure that we were told is in place?
So that's what my whole point is, that where are these early warning systems? If early warning systems have been deployed, why don't they ever prevent any landslide? And not only Dharali today, on this particular route from Gangotri to Uttarkashi, which is 100 kilometers, not only Dharali, and then after Dharali, there's another place called Sukhi Top, where again another, cloudburst induced landslide has happened. And also the district of Uttarkashi, as we speak, today is the 5th of August. Even towards the end of June, there was a massive another landslide. So landslides have become so common in Uttarakhand. And again, I repeat myself that I am not aware whether it is Jal Sansthan or Jal Nigam or, Abda Prabandhan or whichever department, that they are actually working on the ground. And if something is not working on the ground, then, frankly, it's pointless. We can have hundreds of these early warning systems. But as I mentioned, and worth repeating again, that other than red, orange, yellow, and these are very, very generic, So also today, for instance, the district of Dehradun is also under red alert, So it comes as an alert. Okay, we are aware. Perhaps the maximum which happens is that the district magistrate will order the closure of schools, but beyond that, nothing happens.
Which is why lives are lost. So far, we are being told that only 4 people have died. But if you see the visuals, and there is one particular video that has come that is showing buildings, and they are possibly hotels, because this is a tourist hub as well. Anyone who goes to Gangotri passes through Dharali. This is the picture that I'm talking about. You're seeing houses and hotels, and these are hotels that are collapsing like a pack of cards. And do you see those people? They are running away from these collapsing buildings, which clearly tells me that no one had issued any red alert here, and which clearly tells me that the early warning systems that the Uttarakhand government told us are in place clearly are not in place, or we don't know whether they are working or not. Because if they were working, these people that you see on your screens would have been warned, and they would not have been there because no one wants to die. Professor Anjal Prakash, you are a water expert, you are a weather expert, you are a climate expert as well. I mean, what do I even ask you at this point of time? It is only last week that the Supreme Court had warned Himachal Pradesh and said if things continue the way they are in Himachal Pradesh, then it will vanish into thin air. The entire state will vanish into thin air very soon. The words seem to be prophetic, not for Himachal Pradesh, but at least for Uttarakhand.
Yeah, so Shreya, I mean, we have been appearing on your show many times, and every year there'll be a couple of events like this, and that's the whole problem, that the entire eastern and western Himalayan region, and in fact entire Hindu Kush Himalayan region, is actually at a great risk. I've been part of IPCC, and we have been writing day in and day out. There has been numerous Indian reports as well, which is from the departments as well. So there has been enough knowledge, but that knowledge has not led to wisdom. As you have been asking us about an early warning system or automatic weather stations, I haven't seen so far any directive from IMD, but I understand from my sources that there has been none, or if they're working, there hasn't been much update from that side as well. Over to you. You're asking something?
Yes, I just want, since you are someone who tracks the IMD and you track the weather, Professor Anjal Prakash, are you telling me that the IMD issued no warning at all for the district of Uttarkashi /
Exactly
Harsil?
the point. See, that exactly the point, because I have been trying to understand since the event has unfolded, and to try to understand what has been the information that has been flowing. And as you said it right, then an avalanche also, if you see, this is first of all, the reason of this avalanche is also not known. I have not seen any directives issues from IMD side, or what is the source of this? It could be, as media reports are suggesting, that it is a cloudburst. I also feel that there could be, because in the Alaknanda entire region, there has been a lot of scientific studies, and I've been part of a couple of studies already, which is actually showing that there has been many blocks which is already present, and these are risk factors for the people who are living downstream. So this has to be understood. We have to wait and watch because this is an event that has just happened, but we would definitely like to know this reason behind it. That's number one. Number two is also about the way in which the entire area which has been also developed, also called the especially the urban settlement that has come up. You have to understand that as we know, and this is a known knowledge, that this is entire area, both Uttarakhand and Himachal, are into high risk zone when it comes to climate-led events like this, right? And that means that the planning process, how are these settlements even existing? Because that has, and this has happened in a couple of years before also, they are supposed to be shifting out from there, and that is where the problem also lies. So this is a combination of the climate-led extreme events. That's number one. Also, the response from our side, we are already doing a knee-jerk response. NDRF or the other agencies are actually working very hard, but at the same time, we also have to prevent this for the future, and that's where we are actually not focusing at all. That's a major problem that I see in this entire situation.
What you are telling me is extremely worrying. You are telling me as a climate scientist that you have since morning today, or at least afternoon today, tried to figure out whether India's Met Department, the IMD, had issued any warnings for Uttarkashi / Harsil, and you're telling me that you have managed to find nothing, which means there was no warning for a flash flood, a cloudburst, or intense rain in the region. That to me is worrying. Forget the early warning systems we are talking about. According to you, even the IMD had issued no warnings. Where was the hope then, Vimlendu Jha? First, you have this crazy construction on on the side of a river. This is suicidal. Anyone who now looks at these pictures, not till 48 hours ago, but if you now look at these pictures, the one question that you will ask is, why did you build in the path of the river? Have we not learnt our lessons from Kedarnath? No, we haven't.
So, Shreya, the early warning system of the government is a big joke. But the early warning system that we have of our Mother Nature is extremely robust. We have been getting warnings for years together. We've seen what happened 2 years ago in terms of the tunnel collapse. We've seen Joshimath going down. We've seen 2013 Kedarnath. We've seen many such events that have actually taken place, and we've got enough early warning to not grow the way we are actually growing. By the way, it's very, very important for me, for all of us to know that what you see in that river is silt. In last 1 decade alone, in that entire valley, almost 20 million tons of debris and excavated soil has been dumped in these river bodies or in these waterways in that sense. When you have the Char Dham Yatra, which is a 12-meter road that's been constructed almost 890 kilometers with no environmental impact assessment, when you have rampant digging and blasting of the entire fragile Himalayas, starting from Ladakh to Arunachal, we've seen what happened in Sikkim. This is something, as in I do not know why I was so surprised and amused by landslide today, or the cloudburst induced landslide and flooding that happened today, or for that matter, 200 lives lost in last 1 month just in Himachal. The same thing happened in 2024, the same thing happened in 2023, and those early warning systems are working, and therefore there should have been correctional measures. And eviction of a town, again, I'm saying that it would be very easy for us to really blame the locals who for their economic reasons, like in Kedarnath also, are setting up their clusters and their hotels. Indeed, they should not be in the way of the water. But largely, we need to understand the bigger picture, the bigger elephant, the biggest violator is the government here. And not just in terms of telling us that, hey, there'll be a cloudburst, but also looking at the developmental paradigm or developmental model of destruction. Please do not call it development. Let's not get into this facade of balancing of development. Do we actually need better roads, or do we need a barrier called Himalayas? When we know that it's a fragile and dynamic ecosystem, that is the Himalayas, when there's been enough early warning and events, and both in terms of intensity of events and frequency of events in the last 1 decade that we've seen, where is our governance infrastructure to really look at what is needed? And what Supreme Court made it very, very dramatic to say, that Himachal will disappear and Uttarakhand will perhaps disappear. But disappearance of a Himalayan ecosystem means not just that piece of real estate going away, but it will completely mean that India and Indianness and many things, India's economy, India's agriculture, India's water, everything is at risk. So we need to really go beyond our myopic understanding of disasters. We should never look at this as an event. The biggest disservice that we actually do is call this a natural disaster. This is not a natural disaster. Cloudburst could be natural, but cloudburst induced damage to life and livelihood, and that silt, the river of silt that you see flowing is not natural. This is because of the kind of excavation, dumping. By the way, the Supreme Court committee, HPC, high-powered committee, actually was talking about it. They said no. What did the government do, and what did the, funny enough, Supreme Court also do? That 889-kilometer Char Dham project was sliced into 53 smaller projects, so that that mandate of 100-kilometer long highway doesn't need environmental impact assessment. So, this is not a short circuit. We cannot find there's a cloudburst and there's no engineering flaw in a cloudburst, but the fact that the kind of damage that we're seeing, and there's no guarantee that tonight or tomorrow there'll be, God forbid, that there will not be one. You and I have been discussing this, Professor Prakash and all of us have been discussing this for months together, years together, and perhaps we'll discuss a heat wave and a flash flood and perhaps an erratic snowfall also. So climate is not an academic discourse, it is here and now, and therefore we need to also act here and now.
Okay. Anup Nautiyal, again, as I've been saying, the extent of the damage is not very clear. Telephone lines are down. Internet connectivity is not exactly good in the area right now. Most of your reinforcements in terms of your search and rescue teams have not reached. Helicopters are not being able to take off. So right now, the information we have is limited. It's coming from the district administration. They have confirmed 4 people have died. They have confirmed that 60 people are missing. But if you look at this picture, just this one picture, you will know that the story is much, much bigger than that this is a Himalayan tragedy that has played out. Again, I come back to the early warning systems. The point is, chalo chodo, forget about the early warning systems that have been placed all along the Gangotri Valley and these special weather centers that have been set up in 4 areas, including in Harsil. They all failed. But the fact is that nature has been warning us in Uttarakhand, in Himachal Pradesh, over and over and over again. We thought we had learnt our lessons from Kedarnath. Clearly not. If you're building along a river, it will come back and occupy its space.
Absolutely, Shreya, and I resonate 100% with what Vimlendu said earlier. He was very passionate, he was very articulate, and whatever he has said, I totally 100% agree with that. So, of course, there are umpteen examples, bigger ones, smaller ones, and this whole pattern of devastation and destruction that, we are constantly witness to. And frankly, what should one say? Because till the time we don't really course correct, and here I think that the government of India also has to really, come into the picture, because, frankly, nothing is happening. Nothing really is happening when it comes to making the state more resilient from the standpoint of disasters or whatever. On the other hand, and contrary to all the talk that is happening, we are hurtling towards a path which is going to be far more dangerous. And here in brief, I want to share 3 examples with you and with your audience. And the first one relates to Kedarnath. So if you look at Kedarnath, we are all very familiar what happened to Kedarnath 10 years ago. And as we speak, the government of India is planning a 7-kilometer tunnel just below Kedarnath so pilgrims can reach there easily. To me, this is preposterous and this is totally avoidable. The second example is Joshimath. Joshimath emerged on the national and international landscape 2.5 years ago in the month of January. What has happened in the last 2.5 years In the last 2.5 years, there have been umpteen reports. There have been so much talk about allocation of funds, but in 3 years, not even 3 साल में 3 वहां पर ईंट भी नहीं लगी हैं. The third example, Shreya, that I want to share with you relates to Mussoorie, and this I think is something which, a lot of your audience will relate to because they would have come to Mussoorie. So today from Dehradun, when you go from Dehradun to Mussoorie, there are 2 roads to go to Mussoorie, which are reasonably fine for the amount of capacity that Mussoorie has. 1 more ropeway is coming, but the government of India, the government of Uttarakhand are planning another 5 to 10 more roads to go to Mussoorie. So I asked this question today, and the tagline of your channel, the nation wants to know. I want also the nation to ask that why do we need 10 roads? Why do we need 10 different roads to go to Mussoorie? Why do we need so much cement? Why do we need so much concrete? Who is asking for it? Or is Mussoorie the bogey? Is Mussoorie the excuse for all these, cement-laden, multi-billion projects to come here? Who's going to benefit out of this?
Okay.
Are the people of Dehradun asking for these projects? So I think these are grave questions, and it is projects of this nature. जैसे कहते हैं कि वो आग में घी डालने का जो काम कर रहे हैं, वैसे projects कर रहे हैं. So I think
वो तो दिख रहा है. वो दिख रहा है. Ladies and gentlemen, think to yourself.
I think we have to move beyond these niceties and sustainable development and everything, because at times it is better not to do any development at all, because the kind of development that we are seeing here in Uttarakhand is not development. It is destruction in the guise of development.
Professor Anjan, my last question is to you, and I just keep it brief if you can. I have some data here that is telling us that between 2020 and 2022, the number of flash floods in this country have increased from 132 to 184. This is the government's own data. Jal Shakti Ministry ka data hai ye. We also have data from the Indian Institute of Technology that is telling us that only 25% of the flash floods that occur in India are directly caused by extreme precipitation, which means extreme rain. यानी कि ठीक है बारिश हो रही थी, but only 23% of these flash floods are caused by extreme rainfall. What does this data tell us?
Yes. Before I answer this question, I just want to correct the earlier discussion that we had on the IMD issuing warning. I mean, IMD and the Uttarakhand also Met Department has issued the warning. The whole issue is about how does this translate into action on ground. Right? So the warning has.
So let's just clarify it here. Professor Anjan, you are telling us that contrary to what you said 10 minutes ago, the IMD in Uttarakhand has issued a warning. Question is, if that warning was issued, why were there people still in those hotels?
Exactly.
When the river came rushing down.
Exactly the point. So how is this warning not culminating into action on ground? The district magistrate of the area should have known about this, and that is a major also problem all across India, is about how this knowledge actually translates into action. That's number one. Now coming to the some of these data that you're portraying, this has been a known fact. I've been part of, as I said, by IPCC reports. We also had Government of India report. This is a known fact, and the whole problem is also about how is this problem not going to be solved with the action that we see on ground. And that's where the main issue lies. Every time we sit and we debate about these things, but nothing follows after that.
That is because public memory is short in this country. The story will be alive till tomorrow. We will get to know what the death toll is. I hope it doesn't rise, but every indication is that it will be high. We will maybe talk about it tomorrow, day after we'll forget, and we'll move on to something else. That is the tragedy, that we simply forget to hold our governments accountable. We'll leave it there for the moment. Professor Anjal Prakash, thank you very much for joining us. Anup Nautiyal, good to have you on the show. And Vimlendu, thank you very much for your time as well. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, a break. There's more on the other side.